Welcome to The Happy Writer, a show about creating and sustaining a long-term author career. My name is Patty Jansen, writer of science fiction and fantasy. I've published independently since 2011. This show covers motivation, diversification, learning new skills, and your place in your career. Come on in and be happy. In episode 58 of The Happy Writer, I'm going to talk about the mindset necessary to survive in this ever-changing world. After more than 10 years of being a writer, I see a lot of people struggling with this. They don't seem to be clear on what sort of writer they want to be. They may not have settled on their personal writing schedule, yet they want their writing to be everything they dreamed of and more. And some of those dreams are fairly attainable and realistic, but others are not. Self-published writers have been blind to the truth that traditionally published writers have known for a long time, namely that this is a fickle and unpredictable and difficult industry to survive in, that euphoric highs are followed by depressing lows, sometimes in the same year, that having success is no means repeatable, and that the market shifts and changes all the time. And sometimes that change is beneficial to you, and sometimes it is not. In traditional publishing, there is the saying that you're only as good as your last book. In self-publishing, that fortunately does not need to be the case, but it is still a game of ups and downs, and unfortunately, you cannot always control either. There is only one thing you can control, and that is your own attitude towards all of this. I know, you thought I was going to say something about the quality of our product or something equally uplifting, right? If your product is good, then you'll be fine. Nope, not really. So much of what determines our success is not in our hands. You need to know what you want from your writing, and you need to know that you can achieve that for you. Of course, it is perfectly fine to say that you're writing just for the sake of it, but there are not that many writers for whom this is genuinely the case. Most writers, even those who say that this is true for them, secretly hope for some financial success. People paying money for your work is the only validation we have left, having a skewed traditional industry and its gatekeepers. Awards are often not open to us, and because most of us write genre fiction, awards are not terribly important for our success anyway. So what do you want from your writing? I think the key to a realistic mindset that will keep you happy through the ups and downs of your career is that it has to be satisfactory to you. I know this is not very helpful to those people who hate their jobs and hope to replace them with writing income one day, but hoping desperately for that to happen is sadly not actually going to make it happen, and it may even make you miserable. Seriously, the best way to get started in a long-term writing career is to have some income from somewhere else, whether that is a job, a spouse, retirement, a redundancy payout, or a combination of all these things, and making some life choices about expenses, that is up to you. But honestly, if you're at the beginning of your writing career and you desperately need money to survive, writing is probably not going to give that to you. Of course, you'll hear stories about writers who were writing like crazy when they were down to their last dollar and their book made it big. But they're very few and very far in between, and none of us will ever know how much those stories were embellished for dramatic effect. Being in stress about paying your bills is a very bad motivator to make good art. Supposing you were that stressed and you did make a good income, it would take 2 months for the retailers to pay out. Even though self-publishing is immediate, getting the money is still quite slow. For most of us, the first years were extremely lean, and we might even have had to invest some money into getting covers and editing and other services set up. I talked about this elsewhere. But when you first start and you're finding your feet, is when self-publishing is likely to be the most expensive. You're trying to discover what sort of cover your book needs. You may make a mistake and have the wrong cover, or spend some money on an editor who didn't do such a good job after all, or book some ads that didn't work, or at a time that you were not in a position to take advantage of those. When you look at the written word media annual survey of self-published writers and their income, one thing the higher earners have in common is that they all have a large back catalogue. So it is vitally important, if you want to get a sustainable income, to keep writing, and to keep writing at a pace that is sustainable to you. And to do this, while the process of writing remains exciting to you. You're trying to leave a stressful job you didn't like, and don't want to end up in a similar situation with lots of stress about too tight self-imposed deadlines. So consider what you actually want from your writing. This doesn't have to be an either-or situation, like it is often painted. That if you are in it purely for the money, you've got to write dreck. That if you're not in it for the money, you can't make money. This is a continuum where you have to find your own space where you're happy. If you're purely after the money, you're probably better off getting a job where that money is guaranteed. Even the writers who make the most money are still in it because they enjoy writing stories, and many of them dread the moment they no longer enjoy writing those stories. Writing stories is important. Enjoying writing is extremely important. You have to do everything in your power to protect your ability to enjoy it. You have to find the right combination that works for you, and you have to find the right communities that speak to your way of thinking. Some people truly thrive in a very competitive environment. Some people enjoy having the pressure of constantly writing more books. Some people really enjoy jumping into the marketing and seeing success in this way. This becomes an option when you have a larger backlist. Some people continue to chase after big money and really can make ads work for them, but many people are not like that. They might enjoy publishing offbeat projects to a small but rabid fan base. They might get into related formats: audio plays, screenplays, graphic novels, selling books at cons and markets, Kickstarters, having their own store, partnering with visual artists, music. The list is endless. You have to find a place that makes you happy and where, if something didn't go as you had planned, it doesn't crush you. If something goes wrong, you're not a loser, and your books are not bad, and it may not even have anything to do with something you did at all. Life becomes a lot easier if you don't have the constant pressure to earn more, and you don't view your fellow writers as competitors. At times you do well, put away some of that income in other investments. Many people also make lifestyle choices. They consolidate any debts or move to a cheaper place so that they don't have such a huge mortgage to service. Get rid of groups and people in your social writing circle who make you unhappy and anxious. That includes places where bestsellers boast their socks off and you're made to feel like a failure unless you hit a certain income level. There is nothing inspiring about a goal you're not reaching, about goals that are, for a large part, out of your control. This is toxic stuff that is likely to lead to disillusionment in the long term. It is never wrong to listen to a lot of different voices in publishing, but you shouldn't feel the need to act on any of them unless you can see that something is going to be interesting or beneficial to your situation. It's not very productive to try to chase after the latest new thing. Every now and then somebody talks about certain types of ads or how keywords are the bomb, and I spend half a day fiddling with them. I need to come to the conclusion that I really should have come to earlier, and that I already know that there is no magic silver bullet. There is no one thing that you can do, no little trick that will suddenly turn your fortunes around and turn you into a bestseller. Even if there is a little trick that you find that suddenly increases your sales, rest assured, it doesn't last. It's probably not repeatable across your catalogue, and once everyone starts doing it, it won't work anymore. Rather than one magic button, a successful writing career is built up out of the building blocks of having a solid catalogue, continuously working on your audience, continuously working on your discoverability in whatever way you choose, and sheer persistence and tenacity. Over the more than 10 years I've been in this industry, I have seen many people disappear. The vast majority of them never sold very much. A small subset of those people were looking for the one magic button that would make them rich, and make this desire known in many of the writing groups. Some of those people even declared that they were definitely going to be a success, because apparently acting like you're going to be successful turns you into a success, or schmoozing with super successful people does, like it's going to rub off or something. While this sort of bluff may work in the workplace, writing is a surprisingly egalitarian world, where in order to have success, you have to produce the goods. Those goods have to be liked by the people who buy them, and only by having fans do you have some means to expand your audience. If you think you can bluff your way into this, you can turn your book into a success while it lacks one of the ingredients that makes audiences want it. Or if you think there is some kind of magic button and you're continuously and desperately looking for it, then you're not only highly unlikely to succeed, you're making yourself miserable in the process. If you feel unhappy about the way your career is going, stop to think about whether you are actually looking for the magic button, and if so, stop doing that, because it's not helpful, it distracts you from what you should be doing, and most importantly, it messes with your satisfaction in life in general. Most writers, including myself, are not guaranteed bestsellers. Sure, I make enough money to keep it interesting. Of course, I would like to earn more money, but at this stage of the game, I am not willing to sacrifice my happiness for that. I could, in my current situation, live from the money I make, and that is a relief. But I have also built up non-writing income. It's possible to purely live off your writing, but when you're starting out, and this is the only thing you desperately want, I would think that this is a recipe for a lot of stress and unhappiness. There are much easier ways of getting reliable income than writing. Within publishing, there exist two very unhelpful stereotypes. On the one hand, you have people who assume that all writers are poor and that you can't make money from writing. On the other hand, you have people who assume that making a lot of money from writing is easy. It is neither, and you are best to go into a career of writing when you have some secondary income to support you, at least at first, and then to evaluate your living expenses and make financial decisions about investment for the future when the times are good. So much can happen that can either supercharge it or torpedo it, and these things can happen in close succession. Therefore, the most important thing is that it satisfies what you want out of life. Most writers who do this long-term enjoy being able to write what they want, when they want, where they want, much more than chasing ever-increasing levels of income. Don't give up a stable income too quickly. Sock away money during the good times to tide you through the bad. Diversify your income and, at all cost, protect your ability to write like a hawk. Make sure you don't lose the enjoyment. That's my advice for keeping your career alive. In the next episode, I will talk about why we need to stop being precious about words. Thank you for listening to the Happy Writer Show. Check out links and information about other episodes on my website at pattyjansen.com, where you can also find out about my books. You can support me by subscribing to the show or on Patreon at patreon.com/pattyjansen.